In the old ways of our people, we gather when the moon is full and the night air carries wisdom. Tonight, I bring you a tale that the elders still whisper about, a story of patience, justice, and a wedding that no one who attended will ever forget. They say the moon sees everything. And the moon does not forget. This is the story of Amora and the wedding that became a reckoning. In the bustling city of Lagos, where glass towers touch the sky but old grudges run deeper than ancestral roots, there lived a woman named Amora Okonkwo. Beautiful. Yes. But beauty was not her weapon. Intelligent. Without question. But intelligence was only her shield. What made Amora dangerous was her memory. 10 years earlier, Amora's father, Chief Okonkwo, owned the most prosperous textile company in West Africa. Their fabric adorned queens, presidents, and brides across the continent. The Okonkwo name meant integrity, meant quality, meant trust. Then came Chukwudi Manifo. Chukwudi, handsome, charming, ambitious beyond reason, was her father's business partner. The son her father never had. The man he trusted with everything. But Chukwudi wanted it all. Through forged documents, bribes, and lies as smooth as silk, Chukwudi framed Chief Okonkwo for fraud. The courts believed the papers. The banks withdrew their support. The clients turned away like leaves in harmattan wind. Within 6 months, Chief Okonkwo lost everything. Within 8 months, he was dead. They said his heart gave out, but Amora knew better. Grief is its own kind of poison. Her mother followed him into the earth before the year ended. And Chukwudi. He absorbed the company, renamed it, and built an empire on the bones of the Okonkwo legacy. But here is what Chukwudi did not know. The moon was watching. And so was the chief's daughter. For 10 years, Amora transformed herself. She studied law in London. Returned with a degree and a new last name, her mother's maiden name, Adichie. She cut her hair, changed her style, reinvented her entire presence. The girl Chukwudi knew had worn traditional wrapper and braids. The woman who returned wore designer suits and a calculated smile. She joined a prestigious corporate law firm. Started taking high-profile cases. Made powerful friends. And waited. Chukwudi Manifo, now worth billions, collected trophies, cars, properties, political connections, and women. But he'd never married. The bachelor billionaire, they called him. Too smart to be trapped, too powerful to be tamed. Until he saw Amora at a charity gala. She had orchestrated the meeting, of course, a mutual friend, a coincidental introduction, a conversation about art and philanthropy that lasted all evening. He didn't recognize her. Why would he? The broken girl he'd helped destroy was now a confident woman who spoke 5 languages and moved through high society like she was born to it. Within weeks, he was pursuing her. Within months, he was obsessed. Within a year, he proposed. And Amora, patient, calculating Amora, said yes. But she had one condition. I want a traditional wedding, Amora told him, her hand resting on his chest, her voice soft as moonlight. Under the full moon, like my ancestors did. In my grandmother's village. Chukwudi laughed, she was so charmingly traditional beneath that modern exterior. Of course he agreed. Anything for his bride. And I want to exchange our vows at midnight, she continued. When the moon is highest. For blessing. He found it romantic. Exotic. Another story to tell his wealthy friends about his cultured, mysterious wife. He agreed to everything. The invitations went out to everyone who mattered, politicians, business tycoons, socialites, judges, the press. 500 guests. The wedding of the decade. Amora insisted on controlling every detail. The decorations, the seating, the lighting. Chukwudi was too busy enjoying his bachelor party and accepting congratulations to notice. He didn't notice that she'd hired a particular AV company. He didn't notice that she'd insisted on decorative screens around the ceremony area. He didn't notice that among the guests were 3 specific journalists, 2 documentary filmmakers, and a forensic accountant. He didn't notice that the old woman in traditional attire, seated in the place of honor, was wearing his victim's wife's wedding beads. The moon noticed. Amora noticed. And at midnight, everyone else would notice too. The wedding day arrived with perfect weather. As the sun set, lanterns were lit throughout the village. The moon rose, fat and silver, illuminating everything like a divine spotlight. At 11:45 p.m., the drums began. Amora appeared in a bridal wrapper of white and gold, the exact pattern her father's company had been famous for, the design Chukwudi now claimed as his own. He thought it was coincidence. It wasn't. As midnight approached, they stood beneath an arch decorated with white roses and LED screens, which everyone assumed would display romantic photos of the couple. The officiant, a respected elder, began the ceremony. "Before we proceed with vows," Amora said, her voice amplified across the gathering, "I have something to share with my husband-to-be. A wedding gift of truth." Chukwudi smiled, expecting some romantic gesture. The screens flickered to life. On every screen, in perfect clarity, scanned documents with Chukwudi's real signature on forged papers. Bank transfer records showing bribes to judges and officials. Email chains discussing how to eliminate the Okonkwo obstacle. Recorded phone calls, Chukwudi's voice, unmistakable, laughing about how easy it was to destroy that naive old man. Video footage of Chukwudi at private parties, boasting to friends about how he'd stolen an entire company and gotten away with it. The evidence played in a devastating loop. 10 years of investigation. Every piece authenticated. Undeniable. Public. Permanent. 500 gasps echoed in the moonlight. Chukwudi's face went from confusion to recognition to pure horror. "You," he whispered, staring at Amora. "You're Amora Okonkwo," she said clearly, removing her veil. "Chief Okonkwo's daughter. The girl whose family you murdered for profit." The ceremony area erupted in chaos. Journalists' cameras flashed like lightning. The politicians tried to leave, only to find the village exits quietly blocked by locals who'd suffered under Chukwudi's business practices. The forensic accountant stood, announcing that full copies of all evidence had been submitted to federal authorities hours ago. Arrest warrants were already being processed. The 2 judges who'd accepted Chukwudi's bribes, sitting in the front row, realized their careers were over. The business partners who'd helped him, also in attendance, also implicated in the videos, understood they were trapped. Amora stood at the altar, radiant in the moonlight, and addressed the crowd. "You all came here expecting a celebration. To witness the union of 2 people. To eat, drink, and go home with a story about a beautiful wedding." She paused, letting the moon illuminate her face. "Instead, you've witnessed justice. You've seen what happens when you think the powerless have no power. When you believe the dead have no defenders." She turned to Chukwudi, who was on his knees now, destroyed. "You took everything from my family. Our business. Our name. Our lives. You thought you'd won. But you forgot something important." She gestured to the silver moon above them. "The moon sees everything. The ancestors remember everything. And a daughter's love for her father outlasts death itself." By dawn, the story had gone viral worldwide. Every major news outlet carried it. The revenge wedding, they called it. The moonlight reckoning. Chukwudi was arrested before sunrise. The evidence Amora had gathered, legal, documented, irrefutable, ensured he'd spend decades in prison. His assets, seized by authorities, included the textile company. In the settlement, it was returned to its rightful owner, Amora Okonkwo. The politicians and judges implicated in the videos fell like dominoes. The whole corrupt network collapsed because one woman refused to forget. They say that night, Amora returned to her parents' graves. She laid down her bridal bouquet of white roses and whispered, "It is finished, Papa. Your name is clean. Your legacy is restored. And the man who destroyed you will spend the rest of his life in a cage of his own making." The elders say she stood there until dawn, and that the moon remained bright the entire time, as if the ancestors themselves were bearing witness. Today, the Okonkwo Textile Company thrives again. But Amora never married. When asked why, she smiles and says, "I already had my wedding. And it was perfect." This is why, in the old ways, we tell our children, never underestimate the memory of the wronged. Never forget that the moon is watching. And never assume that silence means acceptance. Some ceremonies unite. Others expose. And the most powerful weddings are the ones where truth is the bride. This was a Moonlight folktale. The moon has spoken. And now, you know. If this tale of moonlight justice moved you, leave a comment below with the word moonlight and tell me, what did you think of Amora's revenge? Subscribe for more folktales of revenge, justice, and karma. Remember, the ancestors are always watching. And the moon never forgets.